It's live because the countdown has begun. It's telling me it's live. So let's do this thing. It is part one of the week 4 preview here on the Audible. That's right. It's the Footballguys.com podcast. Cecil, Lammey, and Sigmund Bloom with the Thursday night game that's actually interesting. Like, thank you, NFL overlords. Like, we bow to you because, well, you're giving us Philadelphia at Green Bay. First things first, let's talk about the Eagles side. It looks like Alshon Jeffrey's going to be back. Nothing but great news for Carson Wentz and company. No Deshaun Jackson in this one. So how does Alshon Jeffrey's return against this Packers defense that is tough, that can get after the quarterback? How do the Eagles counteract that? And more importantly for this show, Bloom, how do fantasy GMs take advantage of that?
Yeah, I think that this is a game where we're going to learn a little more about the Green Bay defense, which looks like an elite defense. And this team is rolling right now. And they're in Lambeau. We know they're always better in Lambeau. Philadelphia's had a couple of close losses, winnable games that they're reeling from right now, thinking about how they could also be undefeated. But instead, they're staring on the barrel of 1-3 and might be looking up at a 4-0 Dallas team. So that's not where you want to be 4 weeks into the season. Wentz is a risky play this week. Wentz can also make some good things happen for you. He's going to go down swinging. But that could also, Green Bay defense is a great play this week if they're still on your waiver wire. They're basically someone that we're going to plug in and leave in. But that makes Miles Sanders less interesting. It makes Jordan Howard less interesting. We're going to watch that split. And also Darren Sproles, if they fall behind, could get a larger role here. You're staying away from this backfield, though. Alshon Jeffrey will be back. He's off the injury report. Now, Jair Alexander looks fantastic. I mean, is he going to play on Jeffrey? If he's on Jeffrey, he's going to blot him out, which actually might make Aguilar a decent play. But I wouldn't expect success or overachievement from the Philadelphia defense here, especially with offense, especially without Deshaun Jackson stretching the field. Really, the only safe play here is Zach Ertz. But it could be a long night for Philadelphia, and it could be a night that we're saying two defenses, Green Bay and New England, are they as good as they have looked the first 3 weeks, or is it just playing quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins and Mitchell Trubisky and Joe Flacco? We'll find out a little more.
Yeah, we will find out a little more. And as we've gone on through the season, we've found out more about the Packers backfield. They want to use Jamal Williams. How does this impact what Aaron Jones is going to do? You're always starting Devontae Adams, even in a tough matchup like, this Eagles defense. You're going to start him, Marcus Valdes-Scantling. I don't necessarily trust Geronimo Allison as what the heck flex, but, I get it. You want a piece of this passing game. Green Bay feeling their oats after the way they've started this season, and they're at home against the hated Eagles.
The biggest question here is Aaron Rodgers. Am I really going to bench Aaron Rodgers? He hasn't even been in the top 15 fantasy quarterbacks yet. The game scripts haven't forced him to. So in some ways, you're rooting for Carson Wentz to play well so that Aaron Rodgers has to pass more and doesn't just get to put it on mothballs in the second half, because it's a Philadelphia secondary that I think has 3 corners that are healthy right now. And it's like Philly, so they aren't the best corners. Again, if they jump out to a lead, though, maybe it's more the running game. Stick with Aaron Jones just because he got the goal line carry. So even if it's closer to a 50-50 committee like it was last week, Aaron Jones gets the better half of that committee for fantasy. But monitor that split for Jamal Williams having flex value, or what the heck flex value if this defense keeps it up and they continue to be able to be conservative on offense. It's a Devontae Adams bounce back game. This is your DFS tip, right, Cecil? Like,
right.
This is the game that he gets right. Like the game that Mike Evans had last week. That could be Devontae Adams against these corners, or it could be Marcus Valdes-Scantling too. And you're going to keep him in your lineup. And if Jay Kumar was healthy, would say, is he going to replace Geronimo Allison? Someone's going to replace Geronimo Allison eventually. I don't know. For tight end, I just want to see somebody over Jimmy Graham. Maybe some Bobby Tonyan. Even Mercedes Lewis is a better option this week. But yeah, Green Bay, this is a good showcase for what they've done. And, a defense-led Aaron Rodgers team sounds interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like a team that can go all the way. That sounds like a team that can take on the Dallas Cowboys, who look like they're going to go all the way too. And Kellen Moore will be their head coach next year. Anyway, let's move on. Tennessee against Atlanta. Some changes on both sides for these teams, but Tennessee's really difficult to trust, not just because of last Thursday night, but it's, again, Bloom, like you always say, how do you feel about your quarterback? Well, how do you feel about Marcus Mariota or anyone involved in this offense? Not great.
Yeah, not great. Not great about this game, right? These games, AFC South facing NFC South. Some of these games are going to be duds. I mean, this could be maybe not truly a dud, but a game. These teams in the AFC and NFC South are rarely playing their best football. So when you get two teams that are performing under even their own expectations. We'll see. Both of these teams need this game. When is Tannehill coming? Really? I mean, that's a question. Marcus Mariota, the team has no confidence in him. We have no confidence in him. I mean, see, this is really simple for fantasy. You play Derrick Henry just because he's going to get any goal line opportunities. And if they can stay in this game, Atlanta can be pushed around against the run. Now, Atlanta's going to know this and say, basically, we're running like 9 or 10 guys at Derrick Henry on every play. And if Marcus Mariota can figure it out, so be it. But see, something you can talk about, and something you might be talking about on the air eventually, is, whatever the coach says, whatever the players say, if they don't feel like their quarterback gives them a chance to win, it's difficult. And it gets more difficult. And the defense can do a us against the world thing. We're going to, like they did with Peyton Manning when he was 1 foot in the grave, and pull the team to the Super Bowl. But the Tennessee's defense isn't that defense. So, this team could bottom out, and we could be looking for a new head coach. Maybe they're going to be the ones to hire Kellen Moore.
Yeah, somebody's going to hire that guy. What he's doing. Atlanta side. Well, Devontae Freeman, okay. We know the backfield behind him is a little bit banged up. My Brian Hill deep dynasty stock is just screaming like, please do something, anything for the Wyoming Cowboy. But let's talk about the guys that actually play and make an impact. You're starting Julio, of course. Freeman's the interesting one to continue to watch here. And, Austin Hooper, can he be more involved in the red zone? Because he's much more interesting. He's the 70-catch guy. He's like the most boring 70-catch tight end before the season. But if he's going to be used more in the red zone, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and by the way, Delaney Walker, I should say, on the other side too. Simple. Matt Ryan should be outstanding in this game. I think Matt Ryan, even when the team has struggled and he has struggled, has put together some good fantasy days. He should do that against the Titans secondary. It's going to be, I think, Calvin Ridley, someone that could have a bounce back game here. Austin Hooper is in our graces now as an every week starting tight end, as is Julio Jones. And Mohamed Sanu is going to give you 4 or 5 catches probably in your PPR league. So big question here for fantasies in the backfield. And also whether Landry and Wake can get pressure on Matt Ryan. What's a way that this game goes sideways for Atlanta is if Matt Ryan and the offensive line is not in great shape, if he's having to run for his life or otherwise not comfortable back there, his performance can drop off a lot, but they are at home. Devontae Freeman, I think it may depend on Ito Smith's status. He's got a concussion. If Ito Smith is ready to go for this one, then you're going back to something more like a 60-40-ish split, which Devontae Freeman isn't as exciting. If Ito Smith can't go, like you said, Cease, Brian Hill. I mean, last week all they had was Kenyon Barner, so it was going to be a lot of Devontae Freeman. But if they know Ito Smith's inactive, then you're going to see Hill and or Quadri Olson active. And Hill looked like a good runner. And then you give Hill some touches, maybe he could shake things up here. But if there's no Ito, I'd probably still consider Freeman a low running back 2 or flex. Just know that Tennessee's run defense has been pretty tough so far this year.
This one's going to be exciting. New England and Buffalo. Mm-hmm. And this one's in Buffalo. Now, we've seen the Bills have early season success against the Patriots before. They could even win this game, Bloom. Yeah. There's no doubt with the way that they can run the ball, with the way that they can play defense, Josh Allen doing his thing. And we're going to get to the Patriots side, but I think the game is more fascinating than the fantasy notes in this. And starting on the Patriots side, well, we're watching Julian Edelman's practice reports again. If you're listening to this, we are recording Wednesday around noonish. A little bit late today. I got a story, Bloom. Watching Julian Edelman. Maybe it's Jacoby Myers this week if Edelman can't go. Josh Gordon, expectations there. We're waiting. We're still waiting. Seen some from Philip Dorsett. And, of course, then we get to this backfield and Rex Burkhead being the best one, but not getting the most touches. So how are you looking at New England traveling not far to face a very tough Bills team?
Yeah, right across the way on the Mass Pike and the New York Thruway. Just a straight shot, Wow, layers of intrigue for this one. If there's one game, Cease, this week that I wish I could just watch end to end and not do what we do, this is the one. There's so many layers here because Belichick. I mean, I won't be surprised if Buffalo wins because Belichick's not going to show Buffalo everything in this game. There's another matchup coming up, and then potentially a playoff matchup. And we've seen teams have their Super Bowl against New England in the first half of the season, like Detroit last year. Where did that lead? They did, and Tennessee, right? Didn't Detroit and Tennessee both just thoroughly own New England during the regular season last year? New England still won the Super Bowl. So I mean, I won't be surprised if Buffalo wins here. That being said, if we're going to play this straight up on the New England side offensively, Brady's still an easy play. Gordon's still an easy play. Edelman's practicing. If he's active, I mean, there's a chance for re-injury, but you're going to play him. Even Philip Dorsett is a good wide receiver 3 flex because he's often going to get the best matchups. And James White's going to be back. And with James White, we haven't seen him do too much because the games have been out of hand. Like, we need a competitive game for James White to matter. And now we're going to get a competitive game. Sony Michel is a little tougher call here because he's just not doing anything. He's going to get goal line carries, but are we going to be looking at these Jerome Bettis lines basically from Sony Michel? And if that continues to happen, how long until someone else gets an opportunity? Does Rex Burkhead get more in this one? Because he looks like their best running back right now. So even without Antonio Brown, there's still 6 viable options that are going to get to touch the ball at least 5 times in this game, which I think you lean more to the passing game over the running game in this one against Buffalo. Buffalo's defense is pretty solid, and they're going to be emotional. And this is going to be a really intense game. I think Buffalo should pour themselves into this one like it's a Super Bowl. New England's a yardstick game. So if you say, only score 3 points against them, that's probably a bad sign, right?
Yeah, they're going to give them their best shot, no doubt. That's going to be with Josh Allen. That's going to be with Frank Gore. We're watching the practice reports. Give me anything if you know about Devin Singletary, but we're waiting on that. Maybe a new weapon. People are scrambling for tight end. I got Will Dissly on the waiver wire, but that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. Might now be Dawson Knox time. Yes. Interesting weapons here with Josh Allen surrounded by John Brown and the like. Yeah,
offensively, without Devin Singletary, you'll see more Frank Gore, but this could be a challenge for Brian Daboll. You've got this defense. So here's the big question here. Is this a legendary defense, this New England defense? It looks like it, but you faced Luke Falk and you faced Miami and you faced Ben Roethlisberger, whose arm was hanging by like a rubber band. So are they that good? I mean, they look that good. Buffalo is still a middling offense. It isn't like they're going against Patrick Mahomes or something to test them. But this could be a long afternoon for Josh Allen. This could be, and see, we saw this when he was at Wyoming. Second Wyoming reference of the show already. Where's Malcolm Floyd when you need him? Look, when Josh Allen is behind in a game and Josh Allen is going up against an insurmountable defense, he just keeps throwing. He just keeps trying to do stuff. I mean, this could easily be a 5, 6, 7 turnover game for Josh Allen if it does not go well. So I'm not going to go with Josh Allen on this one, especially in leagues where you get -2, -3 for turnovers. John Brown and Cole Beasley are a little bit easier to trust because you know that if they fall behind, there's going to be a lot of volume for them if Buffalo tries to get back. And then Dawson Knox, and I'm not saying starting Dawson Knox, but what you liked about Dawson Knox is they gave him a carry. They gave him a downfield catch that he then looked like Vance McDonald running guys over. So it's translating. He was an elite athlete, a first-round level athlete, couldn't stay healthy and was overshadowed by DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown and DeMarcus Lodge at Ole Miss. Now he could be that X-factor weapon, and I think that if you're Brian Daboll and you're trying to come up with something inspired, where are the matchups that are going to help you here? And I think we could see a lot of TJ Yeldon in this game too, where the matchups are going to help you more in the middle of the field than trying to attack Stephon Gilmore or trying to throw deep on Devin McCourty. So Dawson Knox is a real interesting player to watch in this game.
Well, we'll move on as we go through the week 4 matchups, and man, time flies quickly in this league. Kansas City and Detroit. Oh, Detroit. Hey, at home, they are undefeated. They got the damn tie there, but this is Kansas City, and we know against Kansas City. By the way, I don't think they have Darius Slay. That was a bit up in the air, Bloom, but I think it's Wednesday, so you don't have your best defender, and you're facing Kansas City. Good luck.
Yeah.
So mainly the backfield's the most interesting to me, and how does that look with Darrell Williams, with LaShawn McCoy? Watching practice reports, is Darwin Thompson like a crazy what the heck flex? Like, that's what's interesting to me, because we know if Pat Mahomes is throwing you the ball, you're a good start.
Yeah, exactly. See, can't you just imagine this one like in the boxing ring? Like on one hand, you got Patrick Mahomes, like with the little tassels, like Hector Macho Camacho on his belt. On his feet, just like showing the fancy footwork. Pow, 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 pow. And then on the other corner, Matt Patricia. Good luck, Matt Patricia, going up against Patrick Mahomes. And as was pointed out, Cease, the only time we've seen Patrick Mahomes on a field in the NFL in an indoor game was the 60 whatever yard touchdown to Tyreek Hill. Remember the play that made me lose my mind Matt Waldman was all over this months ago. But when I saw Patrick Mahomes have Tyreek Hill in triple coverage and throw it so that Tyreek Hill was like 5 yards ahead of everybody, I thought, oh my, we haven't seen anything like this. Is the classic, like where we're going, we won't need roads. So yeah, undefeated teams, 2-0-1 still counts as undefeated. So you play Watkins, you play Demarcus Robinson, you play McCole Hardman. Watch the running back practice reports. As of right now, Damian Williams has not practiced yet. So even if Damian Williams goes as a game time decision, you're still looking at Darrell Williams, and we're going to hear about LaShawn McCoy too. So really all we can say is err on the side of playing your Kansas City running back if we know they're active, and then we might get clear. Obviously if McCoy and Damian Williams are out, Darrell Williams becomes a must start, and Darwin Thompson what the heck flex. If one of those two is active, Darrell Williams is your what the heck flex, and the entrenched one of the two, the veterans, is your must start. So there's a lot of moving parts here, but this one I think is going to be entertaining to watch from the sense of how does Matt Patricia and this defense, especially without Darius Slay, because Baltimore we could have looked at last week and said, well, this team can hang, but then they lose Jimmy Smith, and then everything cascades down, and your matchups get weaker one by one. So what do you do with Travis Kelce? Good luck, Detroit. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. And on the other side, how much do they fight back? Because they've not really shown that dedication to Kerryon Johnson that we all thought they would, that they kind of said they were going to do. So in a game that's got shootout potential, Matthew Stafford, very interesting, is Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones Jr., TJ Hawkinson, right? Hawkowski, like Kelsey. So will there be a tight end battle? And can the Lions go tit for tat back and forth with what the Chiefs are doing offensively?
Right. They're going to go in, and what they want to do is grind out what Baltimore didn't decide to start doing until it was almost too late, grinding out these 10, 12, 14 play drives, Kerryon Johnson. We'll see how long that lasts. You're still going to play Kerryon Johnson because it's the run defense. Did you see what Mark Ingram did against the Kansas City run defense last week? Yes, you want to play Kerryon Johnson in this one, although there's some risk here. You probably want to play Matthew Stafford, although the matchup against Philly looked great last week. Didn't do that much. And Derek Carr didn't do that much against Kansas City earlier this year, but come on. You're going to play Matthew Stafford. Certainly as a streamer, as a DFS play, and probably you're going to play Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones a little hotter coming into this one, but at some point you would think they're going to have to switch into let Matthew Stafford play. How many touchdowns does he have in his top years? He's 41 or something like that. In him, there is someone who wants to go toe to toe in a quarterback duel. Let him do it, actually, which makes you think, hey, TJ Hawkinson, it could be a 0. He did get red zone targets last week, and he could have another big game. It's Kansas City's defense. You could see a wide open, freewheeling kind of game. Even Danny Amendola becomes a deep what the heck flex in this one because of what Kansas City can do, and then in turn Matthew Stafford will have to do. Maybe even see some J.D. McKissick in this one, and that's what's the risk here is if they fall behind by a couple of scores, just carry on, just not see the field, even though he can play in any situation. They don't seem to understand that. So we're going to learn a lot about how Detroit's coaching staff like a Bill Cowher, Jeff Fisher coaching staff. Like, we're just going to do what we do. And if that's not working today, well, then we're just going to shrug our shoulders. Or are they actually going to foresee that it's going to take a different mode for this team to hang in this game?
Yeah. And while Kansas City could drop 50, well, if the Lions can drop 35. Yeah. There's
let Matthew Stafford
28.
play.
Yeah, free Matthew Stafford. Come on, Matt Patricia. I know that pencils for something. Do some figuring. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on and let's talk about Oakland at Indianapolis. Everybody's got the flu in Oakland, but they're trying to gain back weight, trying to be better. Of course, Terrell Williams, Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr. The answer is Darren Waller. Nice tight end there, but on the road against the Colts. How much should you expect from the Raiders?
Yeah, we're going to look back at this Raiders season, Cease, and Denver let them have that nice dream. Like, when you hit the snooze button, you fall back asleep and you have a really great dream, and then you have to wake up and face your life. Oakland's facing their life now after Denver gave them the snooze button dream in week 1. Even against Indianapolis, I think you're going to see them overmatched on the road here. But you do stick with Darren Waller. Low bar at the tight end position. He's the guy that Derek Carr is clearly going to look for. Josh Jacobs, if he's healthier, he should get more touches. And John Gruden said, here's something refreshing, Cease. John Gruden says we have to get Josh Jacobs more involved in the passing game. I mean, it's rare that we hear a coach say what we are thinking. Yeah. Hey. So that's a reason to be breaking ties in favor of Josh Jacobs. Tyrell Williams scored in garbage time last week. So be careful there. It could be getting into the desert of fantasy production for him. JJ Nelson getting more work there. But yeah, Oakland, as I like to say, Cease, maybe the number's going up. Maybe it's 8 terrible teams. Maybe there's 8 terrible teams. The Steelers one hope of not being in the top 5. And there's, 5, 6, 7, 8 good teams. Oakland's clearly in those terrible teams. And Indy's trying to say, not only are we not a terrible team, but there's more of a good team here than you think.
More of a good team and more of a dangerous offense. Now, that offense is probably going to be without T.Y. Hilton again Wednesday morning, if you're listening. And Hilton with the quad injury, we don't know. But you have Brissett coming off one of the best, if not the best day of his pro career. And the Colts, talk about rational coaching, like they talked about it. They brought it about. What do you know? Where energy flows where attention goes.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn into Tony Robbins here, Bloom, unless you stop me and talk about the Colts and the assets that they will use to keep this up, to keep this positive momentum going.
How do I sign up for your newsletter? Go to footballguys.com. No,
Yes.
See, that's professional. I learned from the best, Cecil. No T.Y. Hilton, probably. I mean, honestly, if you have T.Y. Hilton, you're hoping for him to sit for this one because he aggravated the quad. He said they took me out of the game so I wouldn't tear it. Okay, so yeah, let's keep that. We don't need T.Y. Hilton to beat Oakland. Okay, and they also lost Malik Hooker. So the war of attrition. Here we go. They lost Devin Funchess. Darius Leonard also. One of the reasons to maybe like Josh Jacobs a little more this week is Darius Leonard's, as of today, Wednesday, still not practicing from a concussion. So we want to see him get back on the field just because he's a very entertaining player.
Right.
Without T.Y. Hilton and with a solid Jacoby Brissett, Eric Ebron, Jack Doyle, more compelling as your streaming tight end options. Throwing a Hail Mary, really, guys like Deion Kane, Paris Campbell, Zach Pascal, even Naeem Hines as parts of the passing game. You're not necessarily putting them in your lineup or even picking them up, but it's going to be good to see these guys get some extended run against the Oakland defense. It's a Marlon Mack game. I say that he's going to leave in the first drive with a calf strain, right? But this is a Marlon Mack game through and through. And we could easily see between Mack and Jordan Wilkins 30 or 35 carries in this one. That's just how they like it in Indy.
How do we like it? Talking about the Chargers against the Dolphins. You picked up Justin Jackson just for this. So, of course, Keenan Allen, of course, Mike Williams, of course, Phillip Rivers, of course, Austin Eckler. Throwing Justin Jackson. Now, there is a tipping point in football and in life here, Bloom. So when you're playing the Dolphins on the road, traveling across the country, does it extend even to the likes of Lance Kendricks? Like, how much start all your Chargers can we actually realistically say?
I don't know about that, Cease. But Justin Jackson's interesting after what Tony Pollard did last week. Of course, in the background here is when is Melvin Gordon, when is he going to report? Because it could be as early as tomorrow. I don't think he's going to play this week. Eckler's fine. Jackson's fine as a what the heck flex, but that could change things. Although Eckler's value isn't going to fall as much as people think it will. You're going to have Rivers and Allen in Mike Williams too. Why not? It's just a question of getting those points in, getting those big plays in before it gets out of hand. So there's risk there. I'm getting some questions like Rivers or Brady or Rivers or Lamar Jackson. Well, I wouldn't go that overboard with Rivers because, again, if Eckler scores the first 2 touchdowns on the ground, now you may be looking at Rivers with a 201 touchdown game. But a tune-up here for the Chargers. It's the Chargers, so they're coming off of a bitter, close loss.
Sounds about right. But how do you get right? You do it against Miami. Insert my
idea.
Preston Williams. Yeah.
Maybe you throw Preston Williams in. Kenyon Drake's getting more work. Josh Rosen, I pray he stays healthy because he's given out there. So here's my idea, Cease. Every week when we do the preview show, because we aren't going to talk much about Miami for fantasy, let's talk about an all-time great Dolphin. I'm going to bring up A.J. Dewey. Remember A.J. Dewey? LSU.
Okay.
first round draft pick. And there was the AFC title game in 1982. He intercepted Richard Todd, sorry Jets fans, 3 times. And the third one he returned for a Super Bowl to send Miami. And third one he returned for a Super Bowl, for a touchdown to send them to the Super Bowl. AJ Dewey, you get our all-time great Dolphins this week, because we can't really say much about the Dolphins right now.
How about just some random Dolphins trivia, like dolphins are carnivores?
Ooh.
Nearly 40 species of dolphins swim the waters of the world. And river dolphins are part of the family of whales that include orcas and pilot whales.
And there are river dolphins too. People might not know that. They're freshwater dolphins.
Very interesting. More interesting than the actual Miami Dolphins. I just don't want anyone to get hurt, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody think like this is a break, or I mean, you're going to win if you're the Chargers, who have, cursed with injuries anyway, but like, just have the mindset that, it's a normal opponent. You don't have to take the foot off the gas. You will clobber them. So do just that. And we move on. Washington and the Giants. Giant side is more interesting. Washington side would be more interesting if they turn to their rookie quarterback. I get it, Bloom. I know why they didn't against the Bears. You want to get Dwayne Haskins killed, but we want to see Dwayne Haskins. Until then, Chris Thompson, very interesting. PPR flex appeal, certainly, and then some for Washington. Outside of that, I'm not really thrilled about much of anything, especially with Case Keenum, by my book, as their still starting quarterback.
Yeah, Case Keenum could have 30 or 35 fantasy points in this one, or get pulled after the first drive. So that's I got a question. One of the hosts I was on with in Memphis, he says, like, it looks like he could get pulled at any time, or he could throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm like, yep, you basically summed it up. That's the Giants defense. Everybody, Jameis Winston, everybody's looked good against the Giants defense. But when are we going to see Haskins? And like you said, maybe the Giants defense, because they're so, that's a gentle touch, is the time for Haskins to get in. And plus, it's also envy, right? Like, well, they've got their rookie quarterback that everybody loves. We've got one too. Who knows? I mean, the NFL owners think that simplistically about things sometimes. So maybe we will see Haskins. But for now, Case Keenum becomes an interesting DFS GPP play. Quarterback 2 super flex type, or really desperate, but you want high upside. Quarterback 1. Play Chris Thompson. He's going to get. I mean, play him as a flex play or a desperation running back 2 in PPR leagues. Even Adrian Peterson has a good matchup, but again, like, maybe if you're fading Daniel Jones and saying it was somewhat of an illusion, then you like Adrian Peterson for the game script. But I don't know. Of course, you're playing F1 Terry McLaurin, which brings up something else in a second. Sees Paul Richardson. Maybe you might play, just because of the matchup, because of the Giants defense. You're not necessarily looking at Trey Quinn or Vernon Davis, and we'll see whether Jordan Reed plays not. But even these guys, we're going to keep asking the question every week, like, how high do you move up? How low, I should say, do you move the bar of startable players when you're facing the Giants, even when it's Case Keenum? But it seems like Scary Terry is moving aside. Well, F1 is objectively a better nickname than Scary Terry. And Peter Schrager put out there the Danny Dimes. Should we even? There's a larger question here of, should we, as the football community, even decide anything about nicknames? Nicknames are organic, right? I mean, Steve Salami just happened. I didn't decide that your nickname should be Steve Salami. It just happened.
The law firm of Ben Jarvis Green Ellis just happened.
It just happens, right? And I don't even know who decided he was Danny Dimes, but I think it was someone in the Footballguys chat room where I first saw scrolling by Steely Dan. And I'm like, that's it. And I love Steely Dan too. And then if you know what Steely Dan's a reference to, it's even better. So I like, and Peter Schrager agreed with me and used his big megaphone to say, Steely Dan, that's what the nickname should be. So there's, this week on the Thursday night show, a big question of nicknames. Should we get to decide what should they be? And is Steely Dan a better nickname than Danny Dimes?
Yeah, all these scary, it's just dumb.
Yeah, Scary Terry's not good.
Yeah, not a good nickname. Not good. Danny Dimes is just dumb.
No.
Because there's plenty of times he doesn't throw dimes. Now, hopefully he does forever and ever and ever with the Giants. But the main question is, can and will it continue? It should, and against this team. So Daniel Jones gaining confidence, utilizing those targets, Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, etc. Wayne Gallman's the fascinating one here. Like, how much does he get? How much do they lean on him, especially if Daniel Jones is able to sling it like he should be able to this week?
Yeah. Daniel Jones, you're still going to play because of the Washington defense. And remember, he has that running ability. And because of Daniel Jones, you're going to play Sterling Shepard. Obviously, you're playing Evan Ingram. He's a flex play. Maybe even Darius Slayton, who threw that block against the Tampa to get that long touchdown for Ingram. Gallman's an interesting guy here. And look, as of right now, they haven't signed anybody yet. They did have Zach Center in. Like, I would like Zach Center better than Wayne Gallman. That's no disrespect to Wayne Gallman. They had Benny Cunningham in, who'd be more of a passing down back. And Fozzie Whitaker. Whitaker's still around. So he's, again, more of a passing down back.
Didn't bring in CJ.
That's because the Texans were tying him up, right? I mean, Gallman's... So look, Gallman could have 12 touches for 40 total yards and be a 5 or 6 or 7 point play. All right? Wayne Gallman could have 12 touches for 40 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that's the allure of taking him. As a number one back, he would get those easy chippies. If, I could easily see Washington committing pass interference in the end zone 2 times. And then Gallman just, sticks his nose and runs in, although Daniel Jones could get those touchdowns. So if Wayne Gallman's a good fantasy play this week, I think it will be as a product of the offense. I'm not rushing out to get him in waiver wire. Folks listening to that show yesterday know about that. And, for this week, like in this game, in a PPR league, if people said Chris Thompson or Wayne Gallman, say Chris Thompson. Now, if they said Adrian Peterson or Wayne Gallman, well, now we found a starting running back worth less than Wayne Gallman.
Whew. It's discovered right here. Undiscovered country as we talk about the final game in part 1 of the week 4 preview here on the Audible. Cleveland and Baltimore. This is like the glitch in the Matrix because it's the same team playing itself with different uniforms. Like the black cat's going to go around.
Right.
Like lift up its leg to leave its scent. Well, how do the dogs of Cleveland and the Browns handle Baltimore? And will Baker Mayfield? I did the show this morning with Mark Schlereth. And we were talking a lot about Baker, and does he go back to making sound judgments, sound decisions? Is that something that's in the Rashard Higgins? Where are you?
Yeah.
Like, please help this guy. Because with those playmakers and that attitude and that drama and those expectations and those fans, I mean, if they don't, and this is a great test against Baltimore, it's on the road, things could really spiral for that team who was everybody's darling 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was fun. Remember that? Oh, wow.
Remember when the Browns won the Super Bowl in the preseason? It was awesome.
So, they're setting him up to fail. You got to put some of this on Baker, but if you watched him at Oklahoma, this is exactly what not to do with Baker. Okay. What you don't do is invite pressure. What you don't do is make him nervous and drift out of the pocket and otherwise not trust his receivers, not trust the plays as they're drawn up. That's a big problem. And Baltimore, they're going to sweep the leg in this one. So people saying, am I benching Baker Mayfield? Yes, you are benching Baker Mayfield. Now, we've talked about Rashard Higgins and the chemistry. 2 for 46 on the first drive of the season. Got hurt. I don't know if he'll be back or not. He obviously has more to offer than Damian Ratley, which would help the offense, but maybe even more to offer than Jarvis Landry. And yes, am I benching Landry? Yeah, you're probably benching Landry. Actually, if Higgins comes back, it could help Landry. It could help this offense work better. But either way, we're waiting around that. You're not benching Beckham. You're not benching Chubb either, because at least they're using Chubb as a centerpiece of the offense now. You're not benching Beckham, but Beckham's ceiling, where is it? I know the Jets are like, let's just leave him uncovered and see what happens. 80-something yard touchdown. Baltimore's not going to do that. But Beckham, tantrum, whatever, he should. He should be showing Freddie Kitchens, this is unacceptable. Why did you bring me here if this is what we're going to do? Give the play calling to Todd Monken. That's what we're all waiting for. Like, Todd Monken's going to call the plays. Well, not yet. And in this one, I think it's going to be the old Browns beating the new Browns.
New Browns beating the old Browns, who are the new Browns. What? Now I'm confused. Yeah. And they'll do it with Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, Mandrew, or watching the practice report. And then Hollywood, had those 9 targets against Kansas City, but only a couple of catches. So do they get him off the schneid? And who else from Baltimore can help lead the way against the Browns?
Yeah, you like the Baltimore defense a lot here. I mean, offense. You like the defense too. You like the offense a lot because Cleveland secondary is banged up, and I think that Myles Garrett and company, they're quite a handful as a pass rush, but Baltimore can slow that down with running. Baltimore can slow that down with playing 11-on-11 football against Lamar Jackson. So yes, keep Lamar Jackson. Mark Ingram was great. If there's one little what would it be, a cloudy lining to a silver day on Sunday or something like that down here in New Orleans, it's people watching Mark Ingram saying, why isn't he still in a Saints uniform? How did we let him go? But he's looking fantastic. And yes, Hollywood Brown, he was open multiple times deep. Lamar Jackson couldn't hit him. Maybe that'll happen again against Cleveland. Him getting open deep will definitely happen again. You don't want him on your bench when that happens. Watching the Mark Andrews practice reports, you want to see some more confidence. I still think that unless you have a clearly better option, because with tight end, I wouldn't get cute and play Hawkinson over him. Will Dissly, we'll get that part too. It might be a little tougher, but you're still going to play Mark Andrews if he's active after what he's done. Again, that Cleveland secondary being banged up. I think most of what Baltimore does on offense in this game will work.
Well, it will work to make it happen by clicking like, by commenting on the video. Chat room's awesome. Need you to comment as well. Make sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe thing, and then ring the bell. Like all these hoops. YouTube, hey everybody! And when you ring the bell, then you get the notification that we're going live. So even if we're a little bit late, like we were today, that is my fault. Bloom. I'll tell you my story in a little bit. So. Everyone will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Mountain Time as our usual recording time. Bloom, you have an IDP roundtable tonight? Yes.
IDP roundtable, Matt Schauf and the Guru emerging from the darkness like the Emperor.
Guru John Norton. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And again, we appreciate you guys for checking out the Audible, iTunes, Spotify. Just love you guys. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for the great Sigmund Bloom. I'm Cecil Lammey saying stay tuned and stay frosty.